All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for some real people out there, just like you, just like me. All right, today's one of those days where I don't have to talk as much because I've got a very special guest. I'm really honored and privileged to have a guy who probably should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple of times. All right, just to start off there. But you know him probably from Rainbow, Deep Purple, Yngwie Malmsteen, Fandango, one of my guilty late 70s pleasure bands right there, ladies and gentlemen. He's got a brand new album out called Belly of the Beast, and holy crap, he's stirring some excrement with that. Please welcome my new friend, Joe Lynn Turner. Joe, how are you?
I'm very well, Dave. Thanks. And it's a hell of an introduction. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, not bad for a guy from Cape Cod and another Jersey boy over here. So, um,
Yeah.
so let's start. Let's do some lighter stuff to start with, Joe. A lot
hmm
of people really got into your music probably in the '80s. You know, when Rainbow happened. Um, I'm getting kind of old. How did you get into Rainbow? How did that actually happen?
Uh, simply, I'll start with where Richie came to a club to see my band Fandango performing, and they were looking for a new singer, Rainbow, because they weren't happy with Graham. And um, the next thing I knew, I got a phone call from his roadie, Barry Ambrosio. I was living in New York City, down in the East Village. Oh, actually, I was in the West Village at that point. And anyway, they asked me to come and audition in a studio in Long Island, and I did. Got on the mic, and at that moment, they didn't even let me go back to the apartment. They said, "You're in," and I said, "Well, all right, I'll go get some clothes." And they said, "Oh no, you start writing with Roger tonight, and we'll buy you jeans and t-shirts, whatever you need." That's how I got in.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
Well, it's a hell of a story, but kind of a rags to riches story. But it's very cool.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
one of my all-time favorite Deep Purple albums, "Slaves and Masters." I mean, just it's like Deep Purple was coming off all their great '80s stuff, and
Right.
then you come along and definitely the Rainbow meets Deep Purple there, and again some really great musicians and just coming together, and one of those underrated records because the industry was starting to shift at that time, which was really tragic. A lot of bands were
Yeah.
still churning out really good melodic stuff, and then all of a sudden
Right.
the door just got slammed on that. um,
Yeah.
but what was that like, making Slaves and Masters?
We had a great chemistry there. From the first audition, really, we started jamming, and one of the songs, "The Cut Runs Deep," was the exact lyrics, pretty much, that I was singing in the jam, because I always had what Richie called a magic bag of lyrics. I was writing lyrics, a writer writes, right? So I just pulled out something that sounded possibly appropriate and started singing the exact melody. And with that, John, rest his soul, he went, absolutely great. And they said, "Look, I think we got the guy," and I said, "I think we got our first song."
Yeah.
So it was just steamrolling along, really, that the chemistry was working. And of course, working with Richie and Roger before was very comfortable for me. So that chemistry was already there. And Ian and John were just gentlemen. They were wonderful, killer players, killer guys. I loved them all. Great experience.
Yeah, why, just for the sake of what happened, why didn't that continue? Why was it because it wasn't as successful as it should have been, or?
No, 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 that had really nothing to do with it, because in that sense of the word, because this was an interim period between when Gillan left, all this stuff. So I think Ian Pace, he wrote it in Fireworks magazine, and I have a copy of it someplace. But I'll paraphrase him. He basically said, "Thank God for Joe, because he, if we didn't make that album, Richie would have been off, maybe doing something with Joe, maybe doing something else, and Purple would have never had the chance to come back together to reform with Gillan." okay, so here's the story, basically. So I had the feeling that we were making this record. I didn't know if we were going to go any further. It really wasn't important to me. I just want to make the best record possible. And I think that record stands the test of time. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
does.
with that, Ian also said that I was the glue that held it together. Now, meantime, they wrangled a really big deal out of BMG to get Dylan back and this and that. You know, money talks, nobody walks. And
Hmm.
I took my exit. That was all there was to it, really. It wasn't about, hey, we're not selling records, or hey, nobody likes you or us. It's one of Richie's favorite records. He said it in the press.
Yeah.
And he don't do that, you know.
No.
He said it in the press. So, you know, he doesn't have to give compliments to anyone. That was very respectful. So, you know, it was like top three albums he mentioned. It was like in the top three, his top three albums, Machine Head and so on.
Wow.
So that was basically the long and short of it. So I had no illusions of anything. I was there to have a great time, make great music. The tour was amazing. We really had a good time. And I kind of knew what was going to happen at the end, you know, of the tunnel, at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. And it was no big deal because I went on for a solo career and all this other stuff. But for me, it was an earmark in my career because Deep Purple is one of my favorite bands. So, you know, I am lucky, fortunate, proud, and honored to be a part of the legacy. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you've done a number of albums over the years. You were in this project called Sunstorm, and I think
Hmm.
you did like six of those, didn't you?
I think there were six sunstorms. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think there were six.
and really kind of at times kind of sort of keeping that legacy alive with the melodic rock and some of the influences with Rainbow and Deep Purple. But I got to tell you, your new album, you really you put that car into a different gear, and
Yeah.
it's hitting on like 8 cylinders plus a couple more. Um,
Thank you.
Belly of the Beast, right?
Yeah.
Deep, deep album.
Deep.
I was trying to process. You did a couple of videos for the album, and one of them was a lyric video. You put the lyrics obviously right up there because that's what a lyric
Right.
video is. And
Right.
you've been pretty outspoken and kind of a not I won't say a lone voice, but I would say a voice in the wilderness when it comes to certain topics. And I've
Yeah.
really appreciated that because it takes courage because the algorithm isn't going to be your friend, Joe.
No,
It's gonna
the algorithm is not my friend. You're right, and it
yeah
does takes courage because I knew but I knew what my purpose was. You know, as an artist, as a real artist, I think you have to look at reality, look at the world around you, and sort of mirror, reflect it. You know, that's what an artist does.
right
And this is what I saw. I purposely stayed away after the Sunstone projects. I actually had to leave because I wanted to do something very artistic. In the meantime, Dave, I had, as you probably know, I did like with Shanker and Ariane and this
yeah
and that. I did, you know, a song here and a song there. But really, I wanted to concentrate on something, my next move. And my next move had to be great and purposeful because I just didn't want to do another love song record or call it what you will, you know, because it's just not as meaningful when you're really trying to make art. So when the world started to change, I just changed with it. And I looked around and all the subject matter was right in front of my face. Yeah, it takes balls, especially when we're all being censored and blackballed, and you can't say this and you can't say that. All of our freedoms are being taken away. To come out and actually say the things that I'm saying took a lot of guts.
yeah
And it brings me back to a point where I was a child of the '60s, and rock and rollers were anti-establishment. We were the rebels. We were the outlaws, the renegades. And that doesn't seem to be happening today at all. It just seems like cookie cutter corporate crap that keeps coming out with not a lot of purpose. There's very few bands, you know, that come out with a major purpose, you know, love this, and that's all fine. But artists, say something that is disturbing, because that is the point of art. Great art should disturb you. You may like it, you may hate it, but you won't forget it. That's that is the essence of pure art. And I wanted to do something that was not just for the sake of reveling some, but the purpose of telling the truth, because I felt the truth was being buried, was being absolutely submarined, so to speak. And I said, you know, it's time for truth. Also, in my appearance, I said it was time for truth. It was time for everything to come out and lay it on the line. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to preach the truth if I can't look like the truth and act like the truth. And that took a lot of courage, because there's whole psychology behind that and emotionality behind that. However, and I took a lot of crap from everybody for years, and I'm still taking crap from these idiots, some of these idiots. But most of my people, I'd say 99% of the people were just right behind me, cheering me on. And I think it changed a lot of people's attitudes towards themselves. In other words, if I could do it, they could do it. I kept trying to motivate them. One of my purposes was motivation. Look, we have to be the best we can be.
Yeah.
That's what we have to be. And I just found so much compassion and love from these people, and acceptance, you know, which when you have these fears, you're afraid of being accepted, you know, and then you find out that you are more accepted than you ever imagined if you were just bring it out. And it's the same thing with the state of the world today. If we all just accept ourselves, accept our truths and who we are, no one can stop us. No one can stop anything happening. Our freedoms, you know, we have to rise up, as I say on the Belly of the Beast album. We have to fight to be free. And that's the problem right now that's happening. So I know that was a bit long-winded, but I'm just very passionate about this.
You're the guest, so I want you to be the guy who goes off on the tangents and rambles and talks. Nobody wants to hear me talk too much. I do want to mention how awesome it was when you ditched the wig and Graham Bonnet came out and was just so supportive of you.
Unbelievable. I emailed Graham and just said, you know, I had tears in my eyes, because he was just so, first of all, he was so articulate and so compassionate and so supportive. And when he said I had cut a path today, you know, that was huge, because he took a lot of crap for his image too. Right. You know, and what we're trying to do here is basically, it's not about your image. It's about, it's not what's on your head, it's what's in your head. Okay? You know,
good.
And he was trying to say something like that. And he said other things besides. He just had another post that I thought was brilliant of him in support of this, because he's still shaking his head going, you know, that SOB Turner, man, because we're friends.
Yeah.
And he goes, that SOB, you know, he's got a lot of guts to come out there. And I love his new album, you know, when he does Uncle John and all those songs.
Yeah.
He's really exposing some stuff there.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and don't take offense to this, but you're two guys in their 70s, right? Who can still sing like nobody's business. I don't even know how that guy, neither one. I mean, what you did on Belly of the Beast is just like, I don't understand it. I'm wondering if you had a little help in the studio. I mean, and same with him, because it's like you guys are relentless. And I don't know, it's maybe because you're from that rebellious generation, Joe. Maybe that's pushing you forward a little bit.
I mean, I think so. Graham's got a lot of steam, man. You know, if you know him personally, he's got a lot of his values, and he don't like to take shit from nobody. He really is a very stand-up guy. And I'm the same way. And I think that's why we always got along. In fact, in the email, we were thinking, hey, let's tour together. You know, it might be a great idea, because his album's pretty much heavy and it's got the subject matter. It would make a great mix. Anyway, about the singing, no, I had no help in the studio. It's just, in fact, a lot of the songs that I did, a lot of these vocals are first takes, because we wanted something raw and real. And when I would try to go in and improve it, you know, fix what is not broken, I would be kicked out. Peter Tackman, who was brilliant as a producer, he just said, no, this is it, man. You already got it. What are you going to try to do? Fix a word? He goes, your pitch is perfect. Your emotions are there. He says, now what are you going to do to it that's going to impress me? All right, go ahead. Go try. And I would go in and he just push the button and say, no, that's not real. Now you're thinking about what you think is wrong. And as Yogi Berra said, when they asked him, what do you think about when you hit? He goes, you can't think and hit. It's true. It's Zen. It's very much Zen. You can't think, you just do.
That's
You
awesome.
know, it's a martial art. So no fix-ups, no vocoders, no pitch, none of that. It
No,
was raw and
I
real.
wasn't. I hope they
No,
don't.
I know.
I wasn't trying to accuse it. It's just amazing to me because, again, I first heard you in this band from the '70s, dude, Fandango, right? And
Yeah.
it's almost like it's like Orleans, it's kind of like dance. If people aren't familiar with it, it's got that vibe, you know. And you're kind of just this crooner, and here you are, just like hammering. I mean, I think KK Downing might be jealous of this record, brother. I mean, it's just like boom, you know, it's in your face, and it might not be for everybody, but I would say this about it: go listen to it with an open mind. It's loud, it's heavy, but it's also sonically, though, it's listenable. It's not like you're gonna go, oh, you guys just trying to make my ears bleed. No, first of all, I think the subject matter is, and the way, by the way, and the way you look right now, and the subject matter and the music, I think this was brilliant, brother. I think this was like a trifecta.
It all came together in an apex, Dave. All of it was naturally came together. The time, you know, when it's your time, when it's a fine wine and it's just right enough, it's been in the bottle long enough, and you aerate it and you sip it and you go, wow. It just all came together like this. There was no forcing it because I've been wanting to do this for years, but I was never very, you know, you start growing towards it. I wanted to make an album for years, and the times, our social times, geopolitical times happened. So it was all just like this, and it went so naturally, and it felt so natural to be right here, right now, at this time, naturally, organically. I think is a better word.
Yeah,
organically, and that's what it was. Nothing was forced. In fact, the chemistry between Peter and I, nothing was forced. We would a few things we had to. Well, I don't like this part. Let's change that. Let's go to an A here, or let's, you know, there, you know, he would send back and say, well, no, you're not on the lyric on this one. I would rewrite a song 3 times because I kept saying, well, what is the answer here? It's a puzzle when you write. And then finally you get a boom, an epiphany, and go, oh, that's it. And it would come together so smoothly. But you got to put in 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. You know, it's that 10,000 hour thing. You got to know your craft. So yes, it all came together organically, naturally. It flowed, and I think that's what the album has. We stayed within a parameter of, we wanted to make a melodic metal record, and it's melodic and it's metal. It's still Joe Lynn Turner. He was very aware. Peter was very aware of my roots. I was very aware of his. We never went too much my way or too much his way. Anytime that happened, we'd bring it right back in, production-wise and writing-wise, right into this centerpiece where we're making a melodic rock, we're making a melodic metal album, dude. That's what we're doing. It's going to cross formats. You can play this on, you know, hard rock station. You can play the ballad on a soft rock station. You know, you could play Belly of the Beast on a heavy metal station. And it was not intentional, but it was guided. It was a guidance. So that was intended. Stay here. This is what we want. This is the mission.
Right. Well, I think the music is actually perfect for what they call mainstream rock or active rock today. They've been playing pretty much the same bands for the last 30 years with very little variation. And it's kind of sad, but I can hear this next to like Five Finger Death Punch or Disturbed or something like that. And it would work perfectly. I don't know if radio has responded to you, Joe. I haven't been checking those charts.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
Good.
And so far it has. I mean, last I looked, I was like 12 on the contraband metal charts, and I've got over 1 million streams in the United States that I know of. We're still checking in on Europe, and it's moving. The album's only 2.5 months old. We have a new lyric video coming out, plus a director's cut of Tortured Soul coming out. We're going to be shooting another song in February, and the list goes on. It's a baby yet. And I think that as the times now are changing, I think the people who might have been objectionable to it at first will start to maybe give it another try and say, maybe he's got something there. Maybe he's trying to, because my whole intention here was to really sort of like, here's a message. It's not just music, it's a message too.
Right.
I want the message to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking of the message, and you mentioned Tortured Soul. You know, I watched the video for that, and I got to tell you, you really have to understand what's happening in the world right now. Know about, you know, the loss of innocence, which I think is a theme that is so painful to see, and you do this scene at the end where I don't want to, people haven't seen it, they should go watch it. How did you come up with that imagery? Because that's just mind-blowing to me.
I'll be honest that I have a great team. My wife Maya and her friend Agatha, they're a creative team behind this. I had certain things I wanted to do, but they kind of put it together. They said it must go beyond the mundane. It must go beyond, in other words, leave the people to make up their mind what happened to this one. The way they presented the injustices, whether it was pedophilia or domestic violence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just threw my hands in the air and I said, go for it. You guys have that ability. I wrote the song, you interpret it your way, and I was amazed at how they were interpreting it. It just brought more life to it, really. And then when I saw that ending and they said, okay, your alter self, the child, is going to, you know, it was amazing what Maya and Agatha did. So I was overwhelmed actually during the shoot, because you're living it for the first time, you know. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, because yes, it's a loss of innocence. It really is. I think today that's part of the biggest problem is we have lost the innocence. We have lost our way in a lot of ways. We've become way too comfortable and too complicit in everything. We need to be critical thinkers. We need to start using our own logic and our sense of self and soul. You know, I started to write that song about a veteran. My head is full of thoughts, you know, and then I realized this song is for everyone. Tortured soul. We're all tortured souls, all of us. Everybody has a story. Everybody, whether it's you've been kicked around in the schoolyard, or you've been raped, or you've been abused by your parents, whatever it may be, or in war, etc. We all have something that we're trying to get over. I think Bruce Springsteen had a line once, another Jersey friend of mine. He said, you know, like a dog that's been kicked too much, you spend the rest of your life trying to make it up.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We try to heal ourselves every day. That's what we should be trying to do, is leave the past, leave the pain, and move on. And that's what I'm doing here right now. I'm free. And remember, the only real freedom, it's a prison in the mind. And freedom, the only real freedom is to be free from fear.
Yeah.
Free from fear. And I think that's what's happening here. Fear creates all of this complicity, creates all of this authoritarian going along with it. Afraid of what? Afraid of something that they threaten you with that doesn't even exist. It's really sad, and we still have a long way to go back. But you know what? Things are changing. The light is shining, and I'll never give up hope on that. A lot of people said, well, Belly of the Beast is, doom and gloom. I said, no, it's not. It's really hopeful. You know why it's hopeful? Because I'm pointing out what's going on. And that means, hey, we can isolate the problem. And once you isolate the problem, you can do something about it. When you're not thinking about what the problem is, you don't know which way to go. Let's do something about each and every problem.
Yeah.
Simple.
Well, I mean, fear has been over the past 3 years. Fear has been like a predominant feature of this culture, and they scare you every day with something new. And I think a lot of people feel like it's kind of like waterboarding. It's like when is this going to stop? You told me about one problem, and I thought we got through that problem. Now we've got another problem that you're talking about, and we got political problems. There's this false left-right paradigm. Well, again, we lost David Crosby yesterday, right? And you were mentioning how you're from the generation of rebels. You're from where people used to say things like, "Don't trust anyone over 30." Stick it to the man. I've read the books. I've the culture itself, if you watch old movies and things like that, you're probably going to pick some of that stuff up. But David Crosby back in the day, he kind of conformed in his later years to everything. Yes, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But it's sad,
And Neil Young and the whole Spotify thing and meanwhile, people don't realize, but his Black Rock and Hypnosis bought his catalog for like 50 million or more,
right?
And here he's parading around like, he's this virtue signaling, warrior. And meanwhile, he just put 50 million or more into his pocket by some of the most corrupt people on the face of this earth. That's causing a lot of problems. So, and now they're back on Spotify. So what the hell does it matter? That didn't last very long. So now again, why don't people revisit these people who don't hold true to their values? I don't understand it. What are we doing here? We're listening to a lot of jibber jabber, a lot of propaganda, but we're not really holding people's feet to the fire. People have to have accountability. You said this, stand by it. Okay, tell me what you mean. You want to retract it? Fine, retract it publicly. Okay, good, no problem. I mean, what's fair is fair. That's all. So look, I'm all about peace. I'm all about truth and peace. You kidding? I went to Iraq. Okay, I went to Iraq. All right. So these people who think I'm this way or that way, I was there, dude. I was there. I saw it. I know more about that than a lot of people do. There's a big lie. WMD, weapons of mass destruction. Oops, not there. Big lie.
Yeah. One of the biggest ever, if not the biggest. I mean, how many millions of people died in that?
Over 1 million Iraqis and children.
Yeah. And
unbelievable. And we're waving flags. Come on.
So, I mean, it's writing poems to telling Putin that he's a bad dude, right? Like Stevie Nicks and these people, they do, and I'm saying that, so you don't have to take the brunt of this, but it's just kind of like this mindless, hey, I got my flag and I'm gonna wave it, got my lapel pin, and I'm just like, do you understand? Even if you think this is a great idea, I've used this as an illustration. There are people I live in Florida, and there are people down on Fort Myers Beach that lost everything. Sanibel Island, gone. Right? And we just sent $55 billion to a foreign country. And I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with this picture? Why are we doing that when we have people who are suffering? You mentioned veterans, people who are homeless, who are medically.
What about our don't let me go into the medical trip here, the medicine and pharmaceuticals and all of this. I mean, why don't we take care of America? Why don't we take care of our own? This is where it should be, stay at home. Our forefathers who wrote the Constitution said no foreign entanglements.
Yeah.
You don't start with that. And we shouldn't be hypocritical in the sense that, like the Iraqs and the Yemens and uh, I can go on, Syria and give me a break here, Libya,
Yeah.
wow,
Yemen. Yeah.
Libya, whoa, what happened there? So, I mean, put it all together, mix it up and look at it and say, hey, we better start getting our act together. That's our money. Those are our
Right.
taxes.
Yeah.
We're all paying for that. So I would think that we should have a big say in this, and yet the people in Congress and Senate, they're not representing us, and that's a big problem. You
Yeah.
know, I, I've read some really great things on this about how they don't, these people, they don't have your best interests. These politicians get extremely rich everywhere in the world because
Yeah.
that's what politicians are. And you're not supposed to become rich from being in a political position. You're serving. It's really a modicum of a salary, but they all walk away with $140 million, and nobody questions it. I mean, how'd you make that money? Really? Talk about crime. It's all under the table stuff. So, I mean, we have to clean up our act. We have to try to get truth. First thing is truth. Once you have truth, without truth, there is no justice. There's none. That's the important thing. Truth and justice, and that will bring about peace because you can't lie. There's no lies.
Right.
We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page then. We all understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
I said this thing the
clean
other
it up.
day, Joe, that it kind of hit a chord with some of the people that watch my channel. I said, you hear all these terms like you're a so-and-so denier, you're this denier. And I'm like, you people are reality deniers. You're reality
Yeah,
deniers.
that's
You're
a good
looking at
word.
something and then you're kind of putting it into your matrix and you're making everybody feel who can see, like, it's kind of like the blind man, Jesus and the blind man goes back
Right.
and says, I don't know. All I know is, I was blind and now I can see, because they're all like
Yeah.
questioning, what happened to you? And so
Yeah.
you give someone an anecdotal piece of information. You say, this is what happened to somebody in my family. They did
Well,
something and now they're no longer here. Okay. And so, well, it's just anecdotal and you have no proof. And how do you know? Okay. Well, you know what? It's happening all over the place. And I think things
it
are
is.
starting to change a little.
They are.
But I mean, you
They are.
address all of these themes in Belly and the Beat. This isn't just about us talking politics. This is your album. This is
Also, I address a spiritual war, which I know that I know for a fact this is a spiritual war. It really is a good against evil. It's a Star Wars. You understand?
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's good against evil. Anything that goes against humanity is evil. For the good of humanity is really classified as evil. Okay? And there's a lot of stuff that's evil out there. That's unjust and just plain dirty evil. So we are fighting a spiritual war here. It is the fallen angels. It is the so-called Satan ideologies. And what happens to people is what they call de facto Satanism. De facto Satanism, for those who, and I'll put it in layman's terms, is basically I, me, mine. It's all about selfishness, greed, me first, vanity, all the 7 deadly sins. You can go down, lust, greed, all of them. And that's what we become. And when you've got the social media and everything else pushing all this junk, people tend to forget that, hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be kind, loving, sharing to people. You're supposed to help people out. Now it's all me first. Get out of the way. It's me first, and we've lost the brotherhood. We've lost. Well, in Fallen World, I say, God, I was interviewed the other night and they asked me, is God really on vacation? Because that's one of my lines, right?
Yeah.
I says, it looks that way. Yes, it looks that way. Porno fornication. That's right. Child molestation. Yeah, I think God is on vacation after all, because he's certainly not here with us.
Yeah.
This not at this point in time.
Yeah.
I think he's watching. I mean, metaphorically speaking, I think he's watching just to see what we are doing, because
Yeah.
we are co-creators of this life, and we can create whatever reality we want.
Mhm.
And is this really what we want? Is this all there is?
Yeah.
Big question.
Yeah. I mean, I just read this book by Jonathan Cahn called Return of the Gods. And
Right.
the book kind of changed me, because then I started looking at all of these things that have come in that weren't there but are now here, because we've kind of just turned our back and said, "Yeah, we're not going to follow these rules anymore. We're not going to worry about these precepts." It's like you just said. It's a me culture. It's a strange culture when you can't define a type of human being anymore. You can't say, this person is this, and I know I don't want to get in too much trouble, but and again,
But there's the point. There's the point. You're going to be in trouble for saying that you're a man biologically, you're a man,
right.
or she's a woman. I mean, wait a minute, where did that go wrong? Okay, I understand you have feelings. Look, I have a lot of gay friends, all that stuff. That's not a problem for me. It's not a
Right.
problem for me, because they don't even subscribe to this.
Yeah, I know.
This type of stuff. Okay, they're like trying to distance themselves from that and say, hey, wait a minute, we're not about these drag queens at the kids, the third grade, they're deciding if they're a boy or a girl. No, what are you kidding? You can't even spell the alphabet. What the hell? What are we thinking? That these people, where have we gone? We're off a cliff, man.
Yeah,
It's dangerous, and I see it just going straight downhill, man. So Billy the Beast, I mean, it's we are, first of all, maybe people don't understand what the beast system is, but the beast system has been around a long time. I'll do a short synopsis for you. It's a system of government, education, religion, pharmaceutical, medical, all of our institutions that have gone awry right now. And the beast is wants totalitarian control. It happened during the Roman days, and humanity came together, and we broke free of it. This time, however, the psyop that's been done on mass hypnosis, and I know what I'm talking about because I've researched it, I've studied it, whether it's Schopenhauer or I can name quite a few others that talk about this hallucinogenic mass hypnosis stuff that people go through because of fear. By the way, while I'm on it, there's a great, and you can go on YouTube if you want, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. And it's by Napoleon Hill. It's a book, and it's like a 3-hour audio book on YouTube. Anybody who's interested, go Outwitting the Devil, and you're going to learn about the five, I think it's five, why, how does he control people? Fear is the way he controls them. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism. You want to get in trouble. Fear of criticism, fear of death, fear of loss of love, loss of disease. Perfect. Disease. Fear of all these things. That's how he controls people. It's the evil seeps in. And look what Ephesians, 6:12 say. We are not fighting against flesh and blood. We are fighting against the principalities of darkness. I'll paraphrase it. Of the evil ones from, that's what we're fighting here. We're not really fighting against each other. Now, division, again, fear creates the division. We're all against each other. Black, white, red, yellow, green, whatever, they divide us. Divide and conquer. It's an old theory, right? It's an old theory. It works.
Yeah.
What happened? We're all the same. We're all, I like one guy said, we're all human beings. That's what we are. We're all human beings. Doesn't matter what color you are, what race, what creed, what anything. We're all human beings. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I don't think God doesn't see color. God just sees humans. And
yeah, we're all the same. We're brothers. But you're divided by the narratives.
Right. Well, in the rock world, Joe, aren't you known as won't you be characterized as a conspiracy theorist? This is the ultimate shutdown. Joe Lynn Turner talks about Ukraine. He doesn't, he's in the minority. Everybody's going this way, Joe. And you've got your music and you got your new album out, and it's real heavy, and it would be perfect, like you said, for the hard rock stations and everything else. But then, you're talking about, revelation you're putting in all these biblical things, and, rock stars aren't supposed to do that, Joe.
Oh, really? I'm not fitting the illusion of rock. I'm not fitting the mold.
Yeah.
Oh,
What I mean?
wait, I'm out of the narrative. I'm not the narrative. I'm not the narrative.
You're not the narrative.
Look,
I mean, so what
look,
they're going to
look,
do, right, is someone's going to see this
yeah,
video and they're going to cut and paste. They're going to say, Joe Lynn Turner was on with this guy, Dave, and they were talking, and we're going to fact check everything that Joe Lynn Turner said. We're going to cut and paste and copy, and we're going to have a nice article. And at the beginning, it's going to look good. But by the end of it, you're going to say, I was thinking about maybe checking out that Joe Lynn Turner album, but he's talking about biblical prophecy, and he's just, so the only reason I'm saying all this is because I know exactly this is what they're going to do. So I figured I'd respond to that.
You know how many times I've been crucified like this, and I still will be, by all of these yellow rags that I call them, the ones that like to stir up the poop and all this, it's terrible. And I just have to laugh because I go, look, I feel sad for them, because if this is how they get, if this is clickbait, or if this is how they get an audience, or if they have a satisfaction of putting someone else down to make themselves feel better, whether it's a comment or whatever, that's very sad. They have very small lives. That's all I can say. And all I'm trying to do here is establish something, that I'm trying to deliver a message, a little bit of knowledge that I know I have. And if you're going to fact check me, do you know who the fact checkers are? There's no degree in fact checking. And another thing, conspiracy. You know what the difference between conspiracy and the truth is? About 6 months.
Yeah.
About 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I was.
So I will be vindicated.
Yeah. I was talking about this a couple of years ago when I didn't, I had tried to make this channel primarily music based, where it was like music gossip and who's doing what to who, and then maybe trying to showcase some new bands and so forth. But then I realized, Joe, that the world was going to hell, and I had this platform, and I wasn't just going to sit here and not talk about it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I had to do something that, the world was going to hell. Somebody better say something. How come nobody's saying anything? How come all you big shots are not saying anything? Where is the courage? I mean, the new pandemic is cowardice.
Yeah,
that's the pandemic. Everybody's afraid. You know what? You want to be a man. I mean, whether you like him or hate him, Tate. He tries to tell what his truth is, and he's not wrong in a lot of ways. Okay, I mean, he could temper it certainly in certain areas, but he ain't a coward.
right.
He'll take it on the chin. So stand up for yourself and try to help the world. You're not adding anything if you just let it continue. In fact, if you're complicit in that, you're just as much to blame.
Yeah.
I mean, if I paraphrase one of the parables that says, if a man sees something wrong and does nothing about it, he's doing it. He's wrong himself.
Right.
You've got to stop that. The wheel of karma. You've got to grab it and stop it. And somebody say, hey, people, have you thought about this? And that's what art is. And that's what Belly is trying to do. I'm trying to say, maybe it will give you a perspective of things that you haven't thought through. Okay. Yes, it's entertaining. Yes, it's rocking your ass off. Yes, it's great music and all that. But there's a message here that I want you to listen to. The whole thing, the spiritual war, the physical war, everything that's going on here with humanity right now. They are coming after our soul. They're coming after our freedom. The first thing you lose with freedom is freedom of speech. And nobody can fact check me on that. We have lost the freedom of speech globally. Okay? And don't get me started on the WEF, and don't get me started on Davos and all those hypocrites. Because there's a whole lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we're recording this video, Joe, they're carving up the world over in Davos. But again, just another conspiracy theory. You could go watch it for yourself, and find out if it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's conspiracy. Conspiracy, my butt. You know what I mean? It's not a conspiracy. How come they all come true? How come everything? I mean, how come everything happens? All this tinfoil hat wearers, all of a sudden it comes true. You wait 6 months and it comes true. You wait 8 months, it comes true. Well, how come they don't recognize that? Why don't they at least say, well, you guys are right?
Yeah. No. They'll never, that's the weirdest thing is they do, instead of doing a pivot, they just stop talking. I used to watch the local news a lot and then I stopped because I couldn't take it anymore. And
Never.
right. And what happens is rather than say, oh, we discovered that, we weren't right about this, they just don't talk about it anymore. And then you wonder, how come they don't talk about this? Because isn't this the most important thing that they were talking about for 2 years, 3 years? And oh, no, we're just going to move on. We're going to do some human interest stories, some pet stories or whatever. And I tell you, it's weird. We're living in a very bizarre time for information. And what's great about your album, Joe, is that I think it points people that, like you said, they have no idea. So some of these people just have no idea. I confront them. They'll sign up. They'll say, hey, I want to pay $1 a month and talk to you. And I'll go, okay. And we'll have conversations. And they'll just be like, before we went live, you and I guess we get some of our information from some of the same people. And I point that out and they go, oh, well, that's just a conspiracy theory website. Why would you go there? I'm just like,
now look, this is a 5th generation war.
Yeah.
And that's an information war, a propaganda war. All wars. What is the old saying that the first casualty of war is the truth?
Yeah.
That's the first casualty of war. And you can go fact check that, anybody, okay? Because that's the truth. The truth is the first casualty. And there has very little truth got to do with any of the wars. I'm all about peace. There should always be peace. And the people who fight run out of ideas. I don't care if it's a street fight, a school fight, or major war. You're running out of ideas. You can't think to sit down, negotiate, and say, okay, let's bargain this out. Let's figure out what's wrong here and be logical about it. Let's be fair about it. Nobody wants to be fair. That's the problem. They want what they want. They want tyranny. They want power. They want to be in control. This is the problem. And it's getting to the point where we are the sacrifices, humanity.
Yeah.
Quoting Charles Bukowski, one of my favorite poets, he said, humanity, you never had it from the beginning. Well, he's right when I look around right now, because we're in bad shape, people. And if you don't want to admit that, then you are absolutely lost in the sauce. Because anybody with 2 brain cells and 1 eye can see that. We are in bad shape, really.
Yeah.
So take the message, learn to open your mind. I listen to both sides of the story. In fact, a third side. Why not?
Yeah.
There's always something else in the middle. All right. There's left, there's right, and there's center. So let's try to massage all of it and see, well, where are we going with this? What's the truth about this and what's really happening? So when we know things are happening, as in people dropping dead, died suddenly, when we see that, is that a reality or is it not?
Well,
When 14-year-old kids have heart attacks, you're going to tell me that's normal? No, you can't fact check that. You can't pull that wool over my eyes. That is not normal. That has not happened. For example, the whole thing with Harmon, the football player. That hasn't happened in 50 years of the NFL.
Yeah.
Everybody gets hit all over the place.
Right.
That hasn't happened ever. So go fact check that. I mean, what are people talking about? You want to turn a blind eye to it, that's fine. It's not fine, but if that's the way you want to live your life, it's really going to be very sad for you, because you really have to wake up and start smell the coffee, man. It's happening all around you, and you could be next.
Yeah.
You could be next.
Well, it's insensitive though, Joe. This is what I'm told all the time. You're being insensitive. What you're asking that question, and it's your first I was told your hot cold take or whatever. It's off the mark, and the first thing you should, and I do care. I obviously care about these people. You know what I mean? Of course, I care about these people. And my thing is, I don't want it to happen anymore. How about we get to the bottom of this? How about we get the crack investigative journalists over at ABC News to go down and try to find out what the hell's going on?
Look, insensitive. They're offended. I'm offended all the time. People offend me constantly, left, right, center.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing with offended I mean, you're going to live your life that way. It's just not an offense. This is a fact. Look at the facts. Just look at the facts. They go, well, it's not a fact. What if I put a fact in front of your face? Okay. What are you going to say? Deny that? It didn't happen? It happened. It happened.
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
mean, Roger,
Go ahead.
uh, there's so many examples, Dave, that I can bring up, but it's worthless because the fact of the matter is it's all around us, it's everywhere, and you don't have to be of a certain kind to really see these things. All you have to do is just wake up every day, and here it is.
There it is.
Just open your eyes and be honest about it. Be honest to yourself.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
So, and I don't hate people or dislike people for disagreeing or calling me names or any of that stuff. Or no, what I want to do is fight for them until they become awake so that they can fight for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Really,
That's
that's all. Because I'm here for everybody. I'm trying to do something for everyone, and I urge all my other rock and roll friends to do the same thing. Get on the good foot, man. Start talking about it. Start being the rebel, the renegades that we actually should be, instead of acting and dressing the part. Be the part.
Be the part. Yeah. So
Don't be fake.
on Belly of the Beast, you said you have another. What's the next single you're going to release off of that?
Well, we're looking at a lyric video now of Rise Up. We're also doing the director's cut of Tortured Soul, which is a complete different set of footage, looking at it in a different way. And we've got something lined up probably in the next 2 months, whatever, from the record company, but I shouldn't divulge what we're milling over. But there'll be things happening. That's the point. We're moving with this. Record's only 2.5 months old, doing very well, thank God. I thank everybody out there for the love and support all these years. My fans are very loyal, and I hope I make a few new ones. And I hope maybe today's discussion that we said something that might make you think, and not negatively, but just make you think. Like maybe you're looking at it from a different perspective. That's all. Open your mind.
Will there be a sequel to Belly of the Beast?
We'll see if we're all around at that point.
Oh man! All right. Well, at least you're a realist, brother. You're definitely a realist.
Tomorrow never knows.
Yeah.
Tomorrow never knows.
You're feeling good though, right? You're feeling good.
Absolutely feeling good. I'm feeling healthy. I feel revitalized. I mean, I'm 71 years old.
Yeah.
I'm free of a lot of the old chains and fears that used to bind me, and I'm trying to push that on everyone else. Whatever it is, whatever your thing is, get rid of it, man. Break the chains, like in Rise Up. We rise above the flames, we break the chains, break down the walls, and we rise up. And that's the position we should be in. I'm a kid of the 60s, so I was protesting Vietnam War, things like that. Because I'm not about that. I don't want war. Nobody wants war, man. Nobody wants fighting. Nobody wants division. Nobody wants really what's happening right now. We're just all going along with it because they're winding people up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do this. Don't do that. Wait a minute. Who are you to tell me I can't do this and I can't do that? I thought we had a free country here. Now I can't even say what I want.
Yeah, I know. All right. So if somebody wants to order a physical copy, you guys have any vinyl out there for this album, by the way?
They do have vinyl. Absolutely. I think the best place to go is to Mascot. I think it's also underneath all my videos or whatever that they always list, where you can go. You just click on it and you can get streaming and physical. It's a beautiful white pearl kind of disc. Somebody on YouTube played about 10 seconds of it spinning around. And so it's pretty attractive at the same time. It's pretty cool. It's a collector's item.
Very cool.
Again, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate and love all the people that have supported me and support you. And let's just all get together and do this, man. Let's have a better life. That's all we're asking. It's 23. It's 2023. Come on. Let's do something for each other.
Amen to that, brother. All right, Joe Lynn
Amen.
Turner, thank you so much for being here today. It was my honor
And you, Dave.
to have you, and best.
Thank you.
God bless you in the new year, brother.
And you, blessings to you, family, and everyone. Blessings. All the best.